Welcome to the Progress Zone podcast, where we help you create real momentum in your mindset, business, health, and life. I'm your host, Jody Donaldson, and every week we'll explore the small, intentional steps that lead to big, lasting growth. This isn't about hype, it's about habits. So let's get started. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Progress Zone podcast. There's something I learned years ago working in law enforcement that has stuck with me ever since. When you work accident scenes long enough, you start to notice patterns. One of the most common ones is something most people never even think about. It's intersections. When a light turns red, traffic usually stops, then your light turns green, and the first driver in line usually does what most of us would do. They hit the gas. But when you've seen enough crashes, you learn something important. A green light doesn't mean it's safe, because every now and then someone will run a red light. And when that happens, the car that goes immediately is the one that gets hit. So one thing I always taught my family and my kids was this: when the light turns green, pause just for a second, look both ways, and then go. Now, here's why that lesson has stuck with me for years. Because sometimes you're sitting behind that car at the light turns green and they don't move. And if you're like most people, your first reaction might be impatience, like, come on, let's go. But then every once in a while, you see a car fly through that intersection running the red light, and suddenly you realize something. That 1 second of patience might have just saved someone's life. And that moment always reminds me of something bigger about life. The small moments where we choose patience, restraint, or awareness often matter far more than we realize, because those moments are where life is shaping who we are. Not the big moments, just the ordinary ones. And that's what I want to talk about today. Most people think that someday they'll become the person they hope to be. More disciplined, maybe more patient, more focused, more present. They imagine that version of themselves almost like it's waiting somewhere in the future. But the truth is, you don't suddenly become that person one day. You practice becoming them every single day, whether you realize it or not, because every reaction you have, every standard you hold yourself to, and every decision you make when no one else is paying attention is a rehearsal. It's a rehearsal for the person you're becoming. And this is where the idea behind the Progress Zone really comes to life, because every single one of us is in the Progress Zone. Every single day we're alive. There is no pause button. There is no off season. Life is constantly shaping us. The real question isn't whether we're changing, because we are always changing. The question is, what direction are we changing in? And what are we practicing? There's an interesting concept in neuroscience that helps explain this. Our brains are constantly strengthening the pathways we use most often. Every time you repeat a behavior, the neural pathway associated with that behavior becomes stronger and easier to activate. In simple terms, the things we do consistently become easier for us to do again. That's how habits are formed, and that's how character forms, and that's how identity forms. All of this means something incredibly important. The person you will be 5 years from now is not built in one dramatic breakthrough moment. They're built through thousands of quiet repetitions, thousands of ordinary moments where you chose how to respond. And the truth is, most of those moments don't feel important while they're happening, but they are. Think about a normal work day, not a highlight day, just a regular day. You wake up, the alarm goes off, and you're tired. You decide whether to get up or hit snooze. You get into traffic and someone cuts you off. You decide how you're going to respond. You show up to work and there's a decision between doing something the easy way or doing it the right way, and you have to choose. You come home after a long day and people want your attention. You decide whether you're going to be present or distracted. None of those moments feel like turning points, but they are shaping something incredibly important. They are shaping your identity. Because every time you respond in a certain way, you are reinforcing a pattern and you're practicing who you're becoming. And this is where I think people often get personal growth wrong. They think progress is about massive change, maybe reinventing your life or overhauling everything at once. But real progress almost never works that way. Real progress looks much quieter. It looks like becoming 1% better, one day at a time, improving a little bit, responding a little differently, raising your standards a little bit, and then doing it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. At the beginning, those changes barely feel noticeable, but over time, something powerful happens. They compound. Think about someone who becomes known for being calm under pressure. Most people assume that person just has a naturally steady personality. But in reality, what likely happened is that over the years, they practiced responding calmly in difficult situations again and again until that response became natural. Or think about someone who becomes known for integrity. People trust them, right? They respect their word. That reputation didn't appear overnight. It was built through thousands of small moments where they chose to do the right thing, even when shortcuts were available. Those choices add up, and that's how identity is formed. And here's where I want to shift the perspective slightly, because this realization can feel either discouraging or incredibly empowering. If we're constantly practicing becoming someone, that means the habits we repeat today matter more than we think. But it also means something hopeful. It means we don't need some massive life overhaul to start becoming better. We just need to start practicing patience, practicing discipline, practicing presence, practicing integrity. Those small things repeated consistently. One of the most powerful realizations I've had over the years is this: your future self is not built by your intentions. Your future self is built by your repetitions. The things you repeat become the person you eventually meet. And when you really think about that, it changes how you look at everyday moments, because suddenly those small moments matter a lot more. The decision to show up, the decision to stay patient, the decision to follow through, the decision to do what you said you were going to do. Each one of those is a vote, and it's a vote for the person you're becoming. There's a concept in behavioral psychology that supports this idea. Researchers studying identity-based habits found that the most powerful behavior changes happen when people start seeing their actions as evidence of who they are becoming. Instead of thinking, I need to work out today, they think, I'm the kind of person who takes care of my health. Instead of thinking, I need to stay calm, they think, I'm the kind of person who handles pressure well. Every action becomes proof of identity, and identity is incredibly powerful. Because once something becomes part of who you believe you are, maintaining that standard becomes natural. Now, I want to bring this back to something that matters deeply in all of our lives: the roles we play. Whether you are a parent, friend, leader, teammate, neighbor, coworker, none of those roles are defined by what we say we value. They're defined by what we practice. Do we practice showing up for people? Do we practice listening? Do we practice being present? Do we practice doing the right thing even when it's inconvenient? Because those repeated behaviors eventually become our reputation. And more importantly, they become our character. So if there's one idea I hope that stays with you from this episode, it's this: every day you are practicing becoming someone, whether you realize it or not. Life is shaping you through repetition. And the beautiful part of that realization is that progress doesn't require perfection. It just requires intention. Small steps, consistent effort, and a willingness to keep showing up and practicing the version of yourself you want to become. So today, remember this: you are in the progress zone right now, not someday, not when life slows down, but right this very minute. And the person you're practicing becoming today is the person your future self will eventually meet. The only question is, who are you practicing becoming? If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's also committed to becoming a better version of themselves, because growth doesn't happen in isolation. And sometimes the best encouragement we can give someone is simply reminding them that progress is possible. And to everyone listening, just keep leaning into your growth, stay intentional with your progress, and remember that big change comes from small, consistent steps. So keep showing up, keep doing the work, and keep making forward progress. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Progress Zone. Thanks for joining me in the Progress Zone. If today's episode gave you a spark, share it with a friend, subscribe, or leave a quick review. And remember, progress isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. I'm Jody Donaldson, and I'll catch you next time inside the Progress Zone.